Hey, this is Samar Newsome, and you're tuned into the Musicians Shed podcast. And today we have one of my really good friends and a really talented brother, Mr. Vincent Jackson. Is it Vincent?
Vince.
No Vincent.
No Vincent. But it's cool though.
Mr. Vince Jackson. So we ain't gonna call him Vincent. We gonna call him out of his name. Put some respect on his name. All right, my man Vince Jackson. What up, Vince?
Hanging in, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I can't complain, bro. So I mean, like, the whole purpose of the podcast is really to inform some of the younger generation and even some of the people from our generation, because we're a little older. Just some things that they may not be privy to, they may not understand, like, you know, about our industry. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, yeah.
You've been in the industry for how long?
Whew, Lord, since 92.
Ooh, yeah, you got some minutes in there, some years. So what did you start out doing in the industry? What was your start like?
Well, the first thing, you know, like I come from church, as a lot of us do. You know, church, I started out in church, and I was mainly, you know, that's the only thing I kind of knew in the beginning. And then a friend of mine brought me to New York just to hang out.
Now, where were you from? You from?
I'm
Jersey?
from Jersey City. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when he brought me into New York to hang out, the first time, I was like, oh, I got to work here. Like, I love this place. I love the lights. I love the vibe. So I was just hanging out. Then another friend of mine brought me to a cookout, a musician shed in Queens.
Okay.
And I jumped on keys, and that's how I met, you know, one of the players. You know, me and him was kind of battling, a bass player. And I went downtown because the guy I was hanging out with told me, he said, if you want to hear him really rock, let me bring you to this club that he works at. I said, oh, cool, let's go down there. So when I went into the club, he saw me and he was like, oh, he told the owner, he said, yo, bring him up on keys, let him sit in.
Nice.
So I never forget, they were playing a Calypso tune. And the first thing I did was I went to the General MIDI library in the keyboard and grabbed that steel drum.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave me a little solo. He hired me on the spot. Dope. I didn't even know the dude was looking for a keyboard player.
Dope.
So that's kind of where I started in the city.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and just working in the club. You start meeting other artists and other musicians who want to do this, they do that, and get involved in a lot of different types of parties and these little club dates. So that's how things really started moving forward for me. Nice. And I finally got that thing that I kind of asked God for in that day when I went to New York, like, yo, I want to work here, like, kind of make it happen.
That's amazing. That's how he'll do that too.
Yeah.
And he'll test us, but then he'll also put us in that situation to kind of reach for it. So
definitely,
that's great.
Definitely.
And you've had like a pretty accomplished career. I mean, you're still in it, but you know, what are some of the highlights of your career, would you say?
Man, it's been, you know, quite a few things. You know, I remember, I can't remember the producer exactly, but when my cousin called me and told me this producer was, he was looking for a keyboard player to come into the studio, more New York stuff. So I said, oh yeah, of course. So I went in the lab, and I never forget, because I come from church, so I didn't know nothing about being in the studio. So I came, I put on some church slacks, and I got overdressed. I got dressed. I came in there looking just like I was getting ready to go to church. But the cool thing is, it was like a newer group. They were called Boys from Paradise. Okay. And they did a remix of Shining Star from the Manhattans. So I was in there to do keys on that. And that was like my first experience really in the studio. Okay. So then after that, he called me back, and I did a track for Diana Ross. She was trying to come back again. Nice. So I did keys on a track for her. Then he had a D'Angelo remix of Cruising that was like a jazz version. So it was like I started getting all these calls, and then I got a call, one of the guy that worked at the club with me. He said that he had a session that he couldn't do. It was for synth bass. So I said, okay, let me run up in here and, let me see what's going on. And that was actually a Pepsi commercial. Wow. And when they were doing their Enjoy Your Cola theme, and Mary J. Blige was singing on it. Wow. So I wound up getting the synth bass work. So it's been a lot of little things, that's dope. But just being in the studio really attracted me even more than the actual work. Right. It was that atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, so I was kind of like drifting away from the club a little bit and feeling like, no, I want to be in the studio. I want to learn how to engineer and, you know, that kind of thing. You know?
That's incredible. I mean, one of the things I reflect on, especially early on, is like when even like you're learning, when I was learning how to play, I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about time. Like time just stands still when you enter what you really like.
Definitely.
And even when you're going, like I used to take trips to the city, like go to the studio, go to like a ASCAP class or BMI workshop or something. Just like when you're young, you really got to run and just be in the places because you don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know what atmosphere you're going to be in. And usually it's just the exposure that really allows you to kind of continue. Like, I mean, I had an opportunity to play for Jill Scott a couple times, as a matter of fact. But from the first time I went, you know, they used to do these jam sessions, but they were like high class in Philly, like at somebody's big mansion house, and they have all of the tent outside and all that stuff. And these were, or they'll have it at a museum. So I've played at a few of them, and Jill would be like the special guest, and she'd be there just reading poetry, and you just flowing with her. And one of the things I love, like one things I really love about the Philly scene, period, is that their commitment to music. I mean, like music is so vibe. Like. I don't think you understand, or not you, but I don't think people understand how serious Philly is when it comes to music. And it's soul music at that. Because I went to, like, at those things, it was standard to have a Fender Rhodes, a real Rhodes. The suitcase joint. And like, I think that time we had like a Triton on top. So I was like splitting, you know, bass and Rhodes all day. Because it's just like me and maybe a drummer would sit in. And it was super cool. Like, and then every one of those events I played at, it was just like that. It was always all of that was the equipment standard backline. And it was always in some high class joint, real sophisticated crowd. Like, and I just was like, yo, this is a vibe. And you know, so I did some summer work in Philly once, and I remember there was a jazz organist on the block, and you would hear him practicing. Like when I was there over the summer, I'm like, yo, this is just like music. It don't matter where you go, it's just music. So that's something that resonates with me, just being in the right place.
Being in the right place.
And, you know, that opportunity came from just being there, and then, you know, different things. So I love that you said that. I would just ask, like, next, following up on that question, or following up on what you just said, like, what is one of the things you think, or how important is it, number one, to just get out and be at places, and two, how you network when you're there, and like, what is one of the things? Because sometimes you could do something that's offensive, and then it gets you uninvited. But like, how do you keep yourself getting invited to things like that?
Man, I tell you, you know, I think, you know, as a musician, and I see it with a lot of young cats with different situations. I think it's all about, first thing is, like you said, being appropriate, you know, having the right vibe, you know, just having just your attitude, your dress, just try to stay humble. Don't be too cocky. You know, people don't like attitude so much, because there's a lot of great musicians who are really talented, but they have a bad attitude. So it's like, after they get in that atmosphere, then people be like, I don't know if I want to, you know, mess with this guy because of his attitude. So, and I say, once you get into the circuits and all that, I tell anybody the best of abilities are availability and reliability.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Availability and reliability, because when you have situations, don't get there on time, get there early. People notice that, you know, and get there. Don't call in. And I've been on situations where cats be like, hour before the joint, oh yeah, I got stuck here, or I can't make it, and, you know, different things like that. And that just, you know, that
turn you off.
You know.
I mean, I think it's one thing I had to learn at some point in my gigging career is you have to communicate well and communicate early. Like, for instance, if somebody calls me for a gig, there was a time when I wanted to say yes to all the gigs. But I realized at some point, one, I was either stressing myself out, And then I was stressing the relationship out when I couldn't do it, or when I had to like get alternate stuff. So I realized like no is a powerful word. Yeah. It's hard to say it sometimes, of course. It's important because it allows people the freedom to be able to move on. You know, if I need to get somebody else, I just need that freedom to be able to say, yo, you can't do it. Yeah. Great, I get somebody else. And sometimes we want to be on all the gigs. We want all the checks if it's a check, and we want, we want the recognition. Yes, but it doesn't work like that. Like you said, reliability, and some of reliability is being able to say, no, I can't make that. And being honest, even if the timelines don't work, people be like, I got something that goes from 2 to 4, but I could be at your thing at 4. Like, no, you can't. If your thing is over at 4, exactly. Unless you got something that just magically appears, you know what I'm saying, that allows you to portal somewhere. But I think that's important, is to be honest, factoring in travel time. To your plans and stuff like that. So I'm glad you said that, man.
Yeah, you made up a good point with that, because I know musicians try to do that, but like if I have a situation where I get booked on a Saturday, then that whole day is booked out for that situation, because they'll like if you book something else, and sometimes they'll like, my company will hit me up and they'll say, look, we know that the situation starts at 6, but we need to have like an early sound check at 3. Yeah. So now if I double book myself, I always got to say no. But every time they hit me with something like that, I say yes, because if I have a situation, then that's what that day is blocked out for. I don't try to slip in something in the afternoon. A lot of people do it, and sometimes it works, but it could go disastrously wrong for you. Yeah. And go ahead.
No. I think I wanted to just say, like, while you're saying that, it reminded me of some musicians. I mean, listen, I've been a musician under other people, and I've led musicians as an MD, so I know this conversation all day. And one of the things I like, even in recent history, I'm like, you don't sacrifice your main gig for a side gig. Yeah, you can't do that. Like, sir. I mean, and people do it all the time. Yeah, and just expect you to understand. Yeah, and like, yes, you can understand, but at the same time, like there is such a different mindset when you get to a certain level. Yeah, that one, punctuality just is the norm. It can't be like optional. It has to be the norm. And not overbooking yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and like you said, like if I'm blocking out the time, I'm blocking out that day, or I'm blocking out several hours ahead of time. Yeah, of course. Because in production, that's normal. 3-4 hours. Yeah. Normal. Definitely. Like when I was leading bands in weddings, like we always had a 3-hour sound check, or 3 hour like ahead of time, window, because you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. You got setup time. You might need to rehearse something or change something. So those are things that on a professional level, which I think some cats, when they're just starting, they don't understand. Like they're not necessarily planning for. Or planning for traffic. All that stuff. Yeah, that's just factors. But I appreciate you saying that, man, because I know you're one of my bros on the definitely. Oh yeah. Let me ask this question. Working in New York, I found that New York is a different mindset of professionalism. And not necessarily with every person, but like when you're doing work and people got real money, it's a different expectation. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's 100% different. It's super competitive. Now I got a little story. My wife, she had called me up and said, I got this position in New York. And, she worked in Jersey for a long time. She's super experienced in what she does, but she went into New York and she had to let it go because it was moving too fast. And that's what I realized even when I started working in New York. The first week, I had to learn 100 songs. Wow. I had to learn the whole gig in one week to start the next week. Yeah. And I come from church, so I was trying to, and they said, no, bro, this is
I want the line. I want the exact melody.
Yeah. This is rhythm. This is Elvis. We don't need nothing but triads. We don't need none of your jazz, your 13.
I don't need you to add a second in there to make it smooth.
Yeah. So you got to change your whole mindset for different situations. You can't come in there like all world, like, every situation is totally different. The music could be totally different. one day you could be playing Spanish music, and the next day you could be playing some Arab music. Like, it's all over the place in the city because you got it's so eclectic musically in New York that it gets crazy.
Now, my band was based in Jersey, and we did New York gigs, like we did Cipriani's, we did all those drinks. Yeah. But like, you know, I got happy when I became the MD because now I could dictate some of the stuff. Yeah. But I kind of knew by that time how the flow of the party needed to be, and we created a bunch of medleys to really, like, you know, make things seamless. We had horns, everything. I was charting stuff. Nice. All of that stuff is fun when you really on top of it like that. But then on the flip side, I remember like a few years ago, I did like some fill-in gigs. Yeah. Oh my gosh, they like, all right, next song. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, when it ain't your gig, oh my gosh, it's a whole nother thing. And I mean, it's good. It helps you grow as a musician. So definitely, you know, I would say every musician, in my opinion, should experience multiple ways of using their gift. Like church is amazing, but church could be kind of like one thing.
It's definitely a one-dimensional.
But like, if you really want to grow, get on a wedding band gig or just a cover band gig. Go play in some clubs. Because I was exposed to like a lot more European music that I probably wasn't going to listen to. But then I start like saying, okay, this Elton John is a beast too. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you start doing stuff for a wedding that's a request or something like that. So I mean, broadening your horizons is never bad. I studied classical music. I didn't love it when I did it, but I'm glad I did it because it opened my eyes again to different aspects of music, of reading, of all those things. And so to me, the most you can do as a musician is continue to grow, like take yourself outside of things. I watched a video on Chick Corea once, and he was going through his practice, and part of his practice was reading classical music. And it's like, yo, dude, you like one of the best jazz musicians. You got the Spanish vibe, but he like, bro, all of it is part of the discipline. All of it is part of what makes you a great artist. So I'm like, yo, if he could do it, then, you know, we all should take a page out of that and not just be like, I got to be at the shed and do the synth lines and all that. That stuff is great. But that kind of can be one dimensional after a while. You know? It only sets you up for one type of
thing.
Yeah, man. So, man, I appreciate you. You're a man of many hats. So you do a lot of things. I know some of the things you do. So I want you to just kind of tell us about some of the things that you know, what are some aspects of your career that you've allowed yourself to grow into? Because I know you started out as a keyboard player at church, but what are some of the other things that Vince does?
Oh, man. So like you said, I started out on keys. You know, and when I got into New York, of course, I was still doing keys and, you know, I start session work and programming. And really, honestly, once I had a little story. I had actually came out of the church, one of the couples, they were a group, and we needed to go into the studio. So one of the deacons at the church was Lauryn Hill's uncle.
Oh, nice.
So we wound up being at Lauryn Hill's studio. Wow. But since they was gospel, and when I got there, they had been doing some extracurricular activities in the studio. So it was a little smoked out. So it's like, I don't think I can bring the gospel group. So then we wound up at Clef's studio. At the Booger Basement. And so, you know, I had did a song for them, and, you know, Clef came through. He really liked the tune. He was like, oh, who programmed this? And I said, she said, my guy Vince did this. So he actually hired me to work for a refugee camp. Wow. So, you know, I went and met Jerry, Jerry Wonder. So we sat down, and he said, this is the salary. And of course you get little bonuses and stuff like that. And I did that for a little while, but it kind of, at that time, I think that was after they had kind of broke up. So the work was, I guess it was a lot of other producers. So, it's like a pecking order, know.
absolutely.
So I kind of stopped and kind of just moved away from that. But it was a good experience.
Absolutely.
And that was the first time I saw Pro Tools and his engineer Serge. When I watched him work, I was like, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
So I got Pro Tools in my office at the church. I got like Pro Tools free. It had like 8 tracks.
Nice.
And I started experimenting and I'm like, okay, I think I like this. And that's when I really got into the studio work.
Nice.
So honestly speaking, I love keys and I love playing live gigs. There's energy to it. But I could be in the studio for 10 hours straight and never get bored.
That's me, bro. Like it's always something to touch on. It's always something to work on. Like, and literally, sometimes my wife just called me like, bro, what are you doing? You got to work in the morning. I'm like, hey, I'm working now too. But it's one of those things. It's like a calling, man. I don't think everybody gets it. I mean, a lot of people got that bug, but one of the things I was gonna say, even in our last conversation, like, yo, there's so many people in this profession. There's so many keyboardists, man.
Yeah.
I mean, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, you're amazing. I know I'm pretty good. But I just see people all the time that be like, yo, or young people coming up and stuff like that. Like, what do you think about how young people are just kind of getting it? Like, I feel like there's a different access to stuff now.
Well, yeah, so I think it's a different exposure. I think YouTube has really, and social media has really opened it up because there's a lot of people who were super talented even years ago that we didn't have access to. They might have been in Europe or Africa, but now with social media and YouTube and different, Instagram, and TikTok, you get to see like how talented all of these people are and the special gifts that they have, and it's amazing to see like, and then they get to go right on YouTube and see Chick and be like, oh, I could pick that up.
Right.
You didn't have,
you had to buy a DVD, you had to be live or VHS at one time. And I had no money for that stuff.
Yeah, my first exposure to Chick was actually, I was in Sam Ash. This was like in the 90s. And I saw the Electric Band 1, the book. And Chick Corea actually had transcribed every solo and everything, and he made his own cymbals. Like he had a cymbal for when you needed to do a pitch bend. So it was really serious. So I bought that book and I sat there and I those came up and I really learned a lot of different things, even about his thinking. And like you said, the classical is all in his movements and everything. So
but people don't understand. Like, I mean, I don't knock anybody's technique. I think if you get the job done, you get the job done. But what I've learned, and like even studying with, some of my mentors, is that those are things that kind of make it a little easier sometimes. Like the right fingering. Classical music is all about technique and proper fingering that makes things easier for you. Because if you got the right fingering, you can go longer, you can solo longer and kind of go up more octaves and stuff. So people dismiss it, but I don't think it's ever too late. I think that what happens is people learn it this way and they get a career off of it. But I think it's okay to continue, man. To grow. And I think we have to. Because guess what? If you don't, the next person is going to have more than what you have. Because they're deciding to. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter. Like, you can get to whatever level and it's going to be the next person up at some point.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the advantage. And that's why, that's why I didn't see, even playing as a lifetime thing. You know what I'm saying? I see it now. I'm doing it now. I travel. I get to go places that most people will never see or never be able to walk in, certain spaces, but even in that, I feel like there's going to be a retirement
at some
point. And I just feel like, engineering is that thing that I know I could do that forever.
At 99 years old.
I'd be hitting that button like,
I mean,
that's all I got is the fingers.
Even without that, I mean, now you got nowadays, you got a lot of different things that can help you. You can still do a hearing aid to probably hear it too. But that's incredible. So let's go through some of those hats. You said, you're a keyboardist. You're a musical director for like a entertainment company that tours. Church musician. And then you've been doing a lot more engineering. So what, like, also producer, right?
And it's funny. that with the production thing, it's weird because I don't get to produce as much as I kind of want to. I think I'm in the point where I think I want to just make like a record for myself.
Just your own, right?
Just my own. Because I've been actually doing keys for like records lately. I've been doing like sound design. I just did like a whole pop rock record.
Nice.
You know, it's like a singer. He has a cover band that covers Lord, I and I shouldn't forget the name of this band. Foreigner, yes. Okay. Yeah, okay. So the band Foreigner, his band covers that band. Okay. And he got a record deal.
Wow.
With a cover band.
That's crazy.
But but I'm just saying he didn't get a record deal to do covers, but it was just strange for him in that same vibe. Yeah. So I did all of the 80s keyboard work, you know, it was pretty intense, but it was just fun, you know, and I'm like, man, if I'm doing this for other people, I need to do this for myself.
Right. It's something about doing for others. You set your expectations high, and I think you got to make sure that you can make yourself do it. Otherwise you won't. But like I find myself in that position sometimes where, you know, I'll go all out 100% for someone else. Like, you know, I've been doing these recordings for DJs out in London, you know, and they, you know, pay up front, and it's like, all right, cool, but even when I think about it, I'm like, yo, I got records I need to record on. And I'll be like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. So sometimes we're motivated by different things, but we definitely have to find our own motivation to do the same thing. Yeah. Like A$AP Ward, one of the amazing producers, he said he's working on his new project for himself, his own project. Wow. But you hear the stuff he did for like Kim Burrell and stuff like that. I mean, like killing lines and chords and all. I mean, like just created a whole different tapestry musically. And to hear him say the same thing you just said, like, I want to do a project for myself. I think that's the ultimate thing, man. So that's amazing. So let's talk about I think, how did you get started in, like, where was your beginning? Did you have like formal training in like elementary school, high school, lessons? Like,
man, my beginning actually starts with my dad. Okay. So I was born in Jersey City, and my father actually grew up in what's called Montgomery Projects, and he grew up with Kool from Kool and the Gang.
Okay, nice.
And so they would rehearse on the Junction in Jersey City. So, you know, they all played together. They all grew up together, all musicians.
Your dad was a musician too?
Yeah, he's a guitar player.
Oh, nice.
Guitar, vocals.
Nice.
And he, his band branched off from like Kool, you know, like they all rehearsed in the Junction. Yeah. So when I was like 5 years old, my dad used to bring me to the studio with him, you know, because he was babysitting, and I used to have to hang out, you know, while they was rehearsing. So I was exposed to that music back then. And I remember one day I was with him and he took me somewhere, and I had to sit in this room for hours, and they were actually working out their record deal.
Oh, wow.
So they had a deal with Columbia.
Wow.
So they had a major deal, and, you know, they had some really good records as well. Their group was called Rise. And actually R. Kelly did a song with one of their tracks on his last record, I think, before he, you know, started getting in a lot of trouble. Wow. And it's called Be My Number 2 on his record, but that whole beat in the background is my father's band. Wow. It's a sample. It's not redone or anything. That's you dope. Know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it was like crazy to hear.
Recording. Like,
oh, no, they was all polished musicians in the studio horns, the whole thing. You know?
That's killing.
So they was.
I want to hear some of those records.
Yeah, they old school joints. But that's dope. They got some stuff on there.
Nah, but you probably got many samples.
Definitely.
Just the sound, and the quality of recording, reels and stuff like that. Yeah, probably got a certain warmth to analog.
Yeah, definitely.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So, all right. So I kind of met you. I think I met you through a friend of mine that I went to college with, Anwar.
Yes.
So I remember that's like after he was on American Idol, and he started telling me he was working with you. And didn't I see your picture on, you were part of the Union?
Yes,
your picture was on the Village Underground. With DW?
Yeah, DW.
Okay. So how was that? You had a residency at the Village Underground then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how long did that last, and how did that work out?
Man, you know what? I don't know exactly how long it was. Okay. I think that what happened with that was, we started it because we were working with another company, and one of the executives got in a little bit of trouble, and I think we were just looking, and we had been working in the Village for different people forever, and we just kind of wanted to do our own thing. But I think in the midst of us doing that, DW got the Vegas gig with Tony Braxton.
Okay.
So we kind of lost that element, which was really important, that, and I think we actually that's when we brung in Lonnie Christian, who was like, drummer, we came up together. That's one of my favorites in the world. Too, So it's like, things just kind of switched around, and you know how it is. You gotta keep them rooms packed when you're doing that kind of stuff, and So I think that I don't remember exactly how long it lasted, but I mean, I still stayed down there because I went back actually to the Cafe Wah.
Okay,
and then I actually started working at the Village Underground.
Now, people don't know. I'm sure if you're native to the area, that Cafe Wah, Groove, and Village Underground were all owned by the same person?
No. So what happened? So what happened? The owner of Cafe Wah, Noam Dorman, he bought the Village Underground. Used to be a bar called the Fat Black Pussycat.
Right. That's what. That's the top.
Yeah. So he bought that bar, and that's when he started the Village Underground.
Got you.
So he had already owned the Cafe Wah, and his dad had owned the Olive Tree. So it's like that little corner. He's got that thing.
Had a bunch of stuff. Right.
So and then they had other owners that owned the Groove.
Okay, gotcha.
So after he did the Village Underground, at some point he sold them the Cafe Wah. Gotcha. So then they now own the Cafe Wah and the Groove.
Gotcha.
And he still owns the Comedy Cellar. Right. And now he turned the Village Underground into another comedy cellar.
Yeah. That's saddening me, bro. I mean, I know like there's a lot of things that happen in between there, but like, the Village Underground for me was known by Ron Grant and Friends. Sunday nights. Like that was like an experience. It attracted like everybody. If you was in the industry and you was here, people
you wanted to come by and check on Ron.
I saw so many artists in there. They jump on the joint. PJ Morton, like just people just in town and just killing, and like even opportunities. I mean, I got an audition for Life Jennings because I sang on the mic one day.
Wow.
And one of the executives for MBK was like, "Yo, you should come audition for Life Jennings."
MBK,
So I mean, like it's crazy. It just was like, again, one of the things I know about New York, and just talk about New York for a second, is that there's a lot of opportunity there.
Oh yeah.
And the network almost just, if you just make your way on the scene somehow, you can be seen. And if you are seen, there's probably somebody there that can see you. That wants to do it. Deal with you. So that's just a trick. You got to get seen. You got to get seen.
Yeah.
I mean, my cousin, he toured with Jay-Z, Maxwell, Diddy, all of them.
Yeah.
And he from Florida. You know what I'm saying? He from New York, but he lived in Florida. Yeah. And then he came up from Florida and went to school in New York. And now next thing you know, he's one of the Rock Boy horns. You know what I'm saying?
That's my guy too.
Saunders.
Yes, sir.
So, again, he's making an amazing career. And I always reflect, he used to live with me in Newark, and we used to do a gig at a place called Sweet Rhythms, and he had a little residency. He had a relationship with the owner, and we would just go out there every Wednesday and play jazz. You know what I'm saying? He would bring in the cats from New School that his friends, and like School. Renee Newville would show up, and like Roy, all the people would just walk through. But again, just being there. Just like, I was amazed looking at my little cuz like, yo, bro, like you came up from Florida and you in New York and you doing major things, but just really just being in the place and not being afraid. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's something to that, like there's a value to that.
Yeah, well, New York is a spot. A lot of guys come up from New York. Glasper.
Oh yeah.
He was a good
from Houston, right?
Yeah. Mark Whitfield was guitar player with us at Cafe Wah for a while. That was my guy. And, he invited, Glasper came up here and he started doing stuff with Glasper. Glasper hanging in the Village Underground. You know, a lot of cats come up here.
My mentor, Shedrick Mitchell.
Oh yeah, Shed.
He from Midwest.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, man.
And then I saw him. First time I saw him was on the organ.
Yeah,
and he said he came here and was playing for Whitney Houston when he came.
Yeah.
So I'm like, bro,
man.
I mean, again, that always amazes me. People who come from different places. Like, because you see people from New York that don't make it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yet you see people who are dare enough and have enough courage to come from someplace else and literally make it.
Oh yeah.
And do all the things. They adapt to the culture, but more importantly, they work hard and they get
they get like you said, it's being visible and people know them. Like the company that I work for, one of the girls, I don't know if she was from Texas or she just went to school there, but when Mike League from Snarky Puppy and those guys came into New York, she knew a bunch of those guys. So they were actually working and doing gigs with the company. I actually got to play some gigs with Mike League playing Upright. I mean, dude,
that's crazy.
Yeah, they came into the city, but that's the thing. It's like cats come from everywhere. It's like New York is one of those meccas.
Absolutely.
And Texas is another place where they serious about music.
Yeah, I read a book that was talking about how there was like such a talent base in Houston. And just like literally like they was kind of creating talent almost like, you know, and beyond where Beyonce's and you look at Mint Condition. You could go down the line. I mean, I don't even know all of them, but like just Mint. Maybe I think Yolanda. I think Kirk is Fort Worth. Like there's just so many things down there that have their own little vibe, like that little melting pot of musicians. So I mean, you know, and it don't matter where you from, man. You could be from somewhere nobody even heard of. Especially nowadays. You got access to all the greats. You can buy tutorials. You could buy them showing you every note.
Slow it down.
Like this. That's why it's kind of no excuse if you got it. And you put the time in, there's no reason why you can't, you know, grow. So I want to ask this question to you. You're a full-time musician?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you're what I consider a successful full-time musician, because you know you hear starving artists. And you know, I remember I talked to my accountant sometimes. Like, you know, I'm a teacher, so you know, I start off with something that's solid, and then I've built a lot of things. I was the MD at a church, a big church, and then you know had all of these gigs. I was the MD for a band. I was doing a lot of things, especially at different points. But tell me about how you can just kind of be a successful full-time musician, because not everybody knows how to do that. People do one gig or two gigs, and then the rest they waiting for calls. You know what I'm saying? So,
nah, you can't. Like I said, I'm really a stickler for being prepared. So, you know, as far as any gig I've ever worked on, I get new music, you know, whatever they send me, you know, because right now I get every week, you know, we work on the weekends. So I'm dealing with the string section. So I just want to make sure I'm prepared to kind of lead and know the stuff. So, because a lot of times, you know, a lot of players, especially like string players, they're kind of just reading. They don't always know exactly how the song feels.
Absolutely.
And that's a good thing, because it's like one of those things where you got to have somebody there that kind of understands the music a little bit. Because we could all just get together and just start playing what's on the paper. And then it's like, they be looking like, what is that? That's not, you know, so it's.
And the feel on DB or the essence of like what it should feel like. I think I've seen that too. Like, you know, I've been on gigs like now with my sound company, and they'll have like, you know, a string quartet or something like that. And, you know, you see them practicing and they're literally just like, it's almost like they was reading something totally different yesterday. And it's like, all right, this is what we got today. And I mean, they're good at it. They can do it, but like, you still have to kind of somewhere find the essence. And I think, you know, what you're saying is describing being the person to kind of help them, guide them.
Just having the essence. And then, you know, even clients want this kind of music, or it's this kind of situation, and they want you to learn this kind of music. Like, we just had a gig, we just did Aspen for New Year's. And this client, you know, and it was kind of like more like a club setting. It would kind of remind you of more intimate, like being at the Village Underground or something. But this year, the client that usually hires us is like the parent. But this year, the son is taking it over.
Okay, got you.
So he said, look, I need a lot of hip hop.
Wow.
So we wind up like we have dope rappers, but we just play a little bit of hip hop segments, a few joints, a few of those 90s joints, but we really had to dig into the vault. And the thing is, that's my thing. Okay. So it's like, it was like, Vince, you tell us. I'm like, nope. No, we pulled it off though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of work, but that's what you got to do. You got to learn a lot of music.
Yeah. And
you got to be ready to do that. You can't be lazy.
Yeah, that's a challenge, I think. For that kind of band, like an entertainment band, unless you already kind of do that more often. To put together like a whole hip hop set, that would be crazy. Yeah. Because not that there's not enough music, but like most rappers don't learn everybody else's songs in sets. So I think that sounds like a unique challenge. But again, I've been on gigs where you learn to rap. I mean, we used to do More Money, More Problems out of
exactly.
So we would do that and just put those. I mean, I still do that in a set if we're doing some like old school, kind of mixture. As a matter of fact, we had to do a gig like that last year where they said, it's the 50th year of hip hop, or
50th anniversary. Yeah, they want to get.
So we want to do more hip hop. I'm like, okay, I got to get the right rapper on the gig, which I knew some people who could execute. So we'd do like, but I'm like, that ain't really like we'll take you through a timeline and we'll definitely highlight that. But we ain't doing no whole set of hip hop. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Unless you just got rappers that's what they do.
But that's the thing. We got the rappers that do it. It was just us as a band. You know what I'm saying? It's like all the stuff I know. I'm like, that's what I grew up on. I was to it. So,
but how much are you really playing on that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so it's almost like
even like if you were playing like some Dre music, it's gonna be simple.
Just a couple of notes. But honestly, that 90s hip hop, like that Tribe Called Quest and all that stuff, got some nice jazzy.
Well, they were like sampling like Ahmad Jamal.
So you gotta learn a couple of chords for that stuff.
I mean, that stuff is dope. I mean, or like like
exactly.
you playing little like jazz runs.
Jazz runs.
So that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So I mean, let's talk about mixing and stuff like that. You said that's your love now. Like has that kind of opened up some different doors and relationships for what you do?
Well, yeah, it definitely has. I it's funny, but even with that, in the beginning, I wasn't really trying to sell myself doing that. I really wanted to learn, and and I can not even for myself. I want to do it more and more as a career, I start to phase out the live playing, but I just needed to get to a certain place.
Okay.
I didn't want to just go out there and just be learning on the job for everything, which is basically, it's basically what you kind of do. You're going to do that anyway, but you don't want to mess up an album that they paid you $50,000. It's a different levels of,
you start like, I'm going to do this private album.
A friend, that kind of thing. So,
got you.
But I love it because you never stop learning. New stuff comes out, new technology, and you have to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Because if you fall behind, I don't think you should get stuck in a rut in anything you do, whether it be musically, as far as pop music. Oh, I don't like that music. It doesn't matter. It's what it is right now. With mixing, people want to argue, I got to have all my analog pieces. Nah, bro, the technology is changing, so you got to mix. That's what happened. We went from analog to digital to now hybrid. You know what I'm saying? Because people had to go back to getting some more analog, but also, the digital things and the stuff you can do in a computer is amazing, and you get things done faster, and that's the whole competition now.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have AI that's going to be able to mix records. So now you got to be able to do things that AI doesn't do.
Exactly.
So you got to learn the technology. You got to be able to pitch efficiently, because AI is not going to be able to be human and make judgment calls.
Exactly.
You know what
it's
I'm saying?
Make either everything there or not, and it's always going to leave you room to go fix it.
Yes, it's always going to be. Yep. So you got to learn how to do all that advanced stuff, that AI is not going to be able to do automatically, and it's not going to be right. And you're going to be like, okay, yeah, well, I can do that better than, especially tuning. Yeah, and I know a lot of people have problems with, but if you see how, like, even I was telling somebody the other day, they sent me something and they was like, can you fix this? And I like, yeah, but it was, let's say it was like one phrase, but it was like maybe 3 or 4 syllables and a lot of pitch and Melodyne. I got to chop that thing into like 10 pieces just to fix that one phrase, but you got to know how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I did something in Melodyne like a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't like the way it made it have too many artifacts on the way that it made it. So after I kind of bounced it out, I listened to it. I said, man, I got to just go back and grab the original and probably just micro tune it a little bit. Because some things it'll correct too much. Not like auto tune, literally.
Yeah, auto tune. Yeah,
you'll lose the vibrato and everything in auto tune. But like, you can nuance in Melodyne and like, but I think the key to pitching, you got to have an ear for it. You got to know what it's supposed to sound like. You got to know pitch centers. Because if you don't know the pitch center, then your judgment going to be like, that sounds all right.
Yeah, but even with Melodyne, like, just, I don't want to get too technical, but even if you center a note, it may not still be in pitch because of the vibrato. Exactly. So you need to use your ear and manually adjust
a little bit up
where it needs or down where it sounds. Yeah.
I mean, that's with anything. I mean, your skills in the medium is always going to outweigh the technology.
Yes, sir.
Because your understanding of it. And that's why I'm glad you grew up probably a little bit ahead of me, but we're in the same general era of like where you had to learn the stuff first. Now you get to use the technology, but you had to learn it. Like I had to learn how to make a beat on an MPC.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I'm glad I know how to do that because now when I just like go into, I don't care, Splice or and I know I can flip anything in Splice. In a second. Whereas other people, like even my students, I teach students how to produce, but they have loops. They just be like, all right, I'll just use this, I'll flip this, or I'll get a sample. And ain't nothing wrong with that. Like, listen, the world is built on it. The hip hop world is built on it.
Yes, sir.
But I think that there is a finesse to be able to play some of your stuff or create interpolation. I think it was like Jazzy Faye or somebody that was just like, maybe not Jazzy Faye, it might have been a more recent producer, but they were just saying like the difference is between you getting almost none of the money from your record by sampling, or if you could play a little bit, you can actually eat off of it and still use the sample, but like now you recreate the sample. So it's a different royalty.
Different type of royalty.
It's not the master, it's the copyright, it's the composition part that you gotta pay on. So, that's something people don't know. Like and I think being a consummate learner is important. You know what I mean? And like you said, just like you, when I'm in a studio, I can stay there for hours because I like learning. I pick your brain all the time. I call you like, Vince, what's this thing right here? What's the new plugins or something like that? Because that stuff, or I'll send you something I find out about, like, hey man, this new AI thing or whatever. Because that's just, I feel like, people call you techies and all that stuff. You buy all the gear. Man, that stuff is always something else to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I can appreciate it, man. Talk a little bit about your like gig and touring. You was talking about your band that you got now, that kind of one of those best of both worlds situations where you don't have to be out on the road for months and years, but you still get to go to beautiful places and see the world. So tell us a little bit about that.
So that situation is pretty nice. We work in New York a lot, so basically during the week I'm in the studio. I like late hours, so I do my thing. My light for the studio comes on at 10:30. Sometimes I'm in there a little bit earlier, but I got like a backlight that just, as soon as it comes on, my mind goes, yep, it's time to go to work.
Okay, got you.
So I do that, and I'll stay on until about 6 a.m. And then on the weekends is when I do those jobs. And, a lot of them are in New York or they're in the tri-state or, a little bit further out. But, sometimes we have like kind of like residencies. So like this weekend I was in West Palm Beach.
Okay, nice.
So we got a spot down there that we do a lot of them there every year, at least twice a year. So, and we just did Aspen. That's another spot. That's a regular, thing that goes on New Year's, as well as, We go to Anguilla next month.
Nice.
So get to go to the Caribbean, you know. So I've been to Portugal, Japan, you know, I've been all over. Like, it's crazy some of the places. And I think about it, like, I would have never, if I wasn't a musician, I would have never been in none of the, I would have been in New Jersey or wherever I moved to. Atlantic City, look at, you know, or Florida, Orlando, probably for vacation or something. But
the normal places.
But Europe and getting to travel all these places, man, and it's just an amazing thing, you know, just to kind of see the world, but get to come back, you know, be there for a weekend. Because at one point, you know, I was doing like a regular thing in Russia. And the first time they brung us there, they had us there for 2 weeks, but we only had like a few gigs.
Okay,
so they kind of wanted to give us some time, but we told them, we was like, nah, next time you bring us, they work days on, day before, and then come back, you know, because that one day of downtime is perfect to go to the mall and do little stuff, you know.
Ruples.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Go to the KFC.
Go to the KFC down there downtown.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, listen, man. It's people look at the glamour of the lifestyle, and I mean, there's certainly a lot to be thankful for and grateful for. You know, music took me all over the world too, so I can appreciate it. What advice would you have for? I'm gonna give advice for older musician.
Yeah.
And then advice for a younger musician just getting started. So somebody that's been there, they've been on the scene, and they might feel like, you know what, it's time to retire.
Yeah.
But mainly because they're seeing the younger people come up, they're taking these gigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's your advice to somebody like our age that's just like in the middle of that, or probably thinking they're at the end of that?
Well, I think if you stay loyal to your situation and you do everything the right way, there's no reason for anybody to be able to come in and just grab your spot. People, you know, when like my boss, for instance, she don't just hire people because they're the best of the best. She's looking for people who can be available to work, who going to learn the music, who going to be responsible, because you'll get these young kids. Like, she's had some people that work for her, and I won't say any names, and they're the people that we like, oh, that's the best dude.
Right.
And she'll be like, nah, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they didn't come prepared for the gig. It doesn't matter how good you play. Right. That's not what that's not what a professional gig is about. If you work for Jill Scott, Michael Jackson, they want you to play Jill Scott or Michael Jackson. Their stuff, their hits. They don't care. Exactly. They don't want you to
Not
play
as much. I mean, like, there's I feel like there's some times where it's like, what can you add to this? Yeah. But at the end of the day, they've created who they are. They want you to play.
But I mean, I'm not even saying like the creative stuff or what they add, because even that is part of their music.
Absolutely.
You know, like if you play for
still built around
if you play for one of those artists like Justin Timberlake, and he's got this certain lick that he's added to his live show, that's what he wants.
Right.
He don't want your licks. He want that lick.
I want my lick.
And if you add something in, or you bring something, or you guys created in a rehearsal, that's different. But these gigs are not freestyle.
So I had it's funny you say that. I had two of my cousins on a gig that Nissan was the MD for. It was Diddy. It was like the that last night it was that tour. And you know, I actually went out to LA and hung out with them and stuff like that. But they were telling me, like, in the rehearsals, like, you know, they had Spanky on drums, all this stuff. And Diddy was giving them a hard time, really, not because he ain't amazing, but just like, bro, I want my stuff. I want my beat. I want, you know what I'm saying? And so people get that twisted, I think. And I think some people that you would think would be on all the gigs because they're ridiculous on their own, they don't get the gigs the same way, the same amount that you think, because you have to adapt to the artist. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, like I applaud like a Glasper. I saw Glasper on tour with Maxwell. And that was amazing because Glasper's so outside the box in terms of his sound, but like it takes discipline to go and sit there and play the music that is in front of you, and not alter it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you don't really hear Glasper, and they record it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just a tour.
No.
They recorded an album together.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, I had the pleasure of kind of being close to that. My cousin was on the horns for that stuff, you know,
nice.
A Bad Habit and all that stuff, Pretty Wings, all of that. And so, you know, they toured for like 2 years.
Yeah.
They did like the basic tour, and then they did the big tour, and then my cousin got a Grammy for that.
Well, nice.
So like all of that stuff I got to see up close and personal.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, Glasper didn't stop being Glasper because he was on that gig.
Oh, no.
He was just like, I'm on the pocket, even like a Chris Daddy Dave. Yeah. Now, you'll hear him on some of the stuff drums-wise, but he in the pocket for most of that stuff.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
So to me, that's kind of a lost understanding that, like, yes, there's gigs where it's all about you, and you got to build up your own audience for that.
Yeah.
But there's also eating, man.
Yeah,
like, you know
you gotta feed your
family.
Yeah, you gotta feed your people. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm sure some of the cats on them gigs, like the Chris's or the even the Glasper, they did them gigs because it made sense.
Yeah, you know definitely. Yeah.
And went there, if I just need to play a triad, I'm playing a triad.
Yeah.
Every night for 2 years. So I think that's a lost thing, man. Talk to the younger musicians a little bit about that stuff.
Well, you can't. First thing is you can't let your ego get the best of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think, you know, one thing I learned, and this is coming from church. This is one of those things like we used to do, like back in the day. You know, you younger, you do concerts. I've always been super sensitive when it comes to music and wanting to do the right thing and wanting to know my part. So we would rehearse for these concerts week after week. And when it was time to do the concert, like one musician would just go way out the box. Wow. Like, dude, we've been rehearsing this tight for weeks, and now the thing come up and you just wilding out, and it's like
the meme where they said the guest drummer, and the intro will be like, boom, you be like, okay, here we go, you know,
it became Showtime at the Apollo or something, and I'm like, bro, what's going? And that's the kind of stuff that will definitely.
Oh, you ain't getting hired.
You're not like you won't get hired. You'll get hired, but you won't get hired twice.
Exactly.
Rehire is the thing that you're looking for.
People hire you off of your reputation, but then they don't rehire you off of the other part of your reputation. Listen, I tell musicians all the time. I mean, like, I've shown so many drummers over the years, like, bro, pocket. You know what I'm saying? Pocket is king. Not because you don't need to have the skills. You don't need to show me all your skills. Like, now, if it's the moment, and I'm like, all right, now it's your moment, and you might get one moment. I talk to even like guitarists and stuff like that. Like, listen, man, like, I'm gonna tire of your solo if you're soloing for the whole song. And honestly, I can't call you for a solo if you've been soloing for the whole song. Like, your pocket is really what sets up your solo. To be honest, and people don't really kind of understand that. So, I mean, like, what has been your experience with that?
Oh man, with drummers especially, I've seen a lot of drummers come and go. Okay. But, and I think that's definitely one of the things, like you're talking about, the pocket. If you, like you said, if you're doing that the whole song, then when it's time for you to do something, it's not special.
It's not special anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. Even like I could talk about like Nathaniel Townsley, Lonnie Christian, like with their solos, like certain drummers, Jeremy Gaddy, who I rock with, it's like they start their solos like in a certain, you almost feel like they still in the pocket,
right?
But once they get to the end, they know how to tell us. They telling a story, and that's the thing about with anything. When you playing a song, you telling a story. You got the verse, you got the intro, you got the bridge, and then you got the vamp out. You building like a story, and that energy keeps coming up. And people recognize it. They feel it. They that's what people get. They like,
grab their attention, and then you keep it because you let the story actually unfold.
You let that thing
that's
unfold.
Amazing. You brought up Nat. Nat is one of the best drummers I've ever played with. And like, just first of all, he's super humble. He's one of the most humble people I know, man. And that goes a long way with me. But like, and his skills are ridiculous. So it's not like he's humble because he has to be. He's humble because that's just who he is character-wise. But like, I've seen him do stuff where he's doing pocket within the pocket. You know what I'm saying? He's doing grooves within the pocket.
Yeah, those,
like, oh my gosh, the little micro joints.
Yeah, the micro, the rhythms in between,
killing, man.
I be telling, it's so funny because I've been telling plenty of friends of ours, like some people, they don't underestimate them, but they don't get it. And I'm like, bro, if you went down to the underground on the Sunday, they could be playing like a song like Shaka Khan Ain't Nobody, and he'll be playing that pocket. And then he'll go into his little go-go vibe, but the pattern will just be continuous, like a drum machine. But it'll be extra stuff, but it'll be so continuous that you still in that groove. And it's like that. That's the magic of what he does. Definitely.
And I think for any musician, like, you might get a solo in a song. Mm-hmm. The key thing is to really, it's like being under pressure. Like, if you could keep your cool under pressure, you can make that solo whatever you want. But if you like get hyped up because it's a solo, which you see people do all the time, and you see it in their actions because they're like, okay, the theatrics is what people want to see. And sometimes it's like that because some people react to that. But it's really about execution. And it's about like, telling the story, like you said. And if you could kind of keep your calm, you could tell that story better than if you just like, you know what I'm saying? And you doing and people do it. Again, some of it is fabricated. Some of it you just feeling it.
Yeah, they call it the faces of passion. It's like you playing way you doing more actions than what you actually playing.
Right. You're bending a chord. And your head is moving more than your bends, you know what I'm saying? But that's dope. But man, listen, I appreciate you coming, man.
No, it's all good, bro.
Just like I said, how can people find you if they want to check out your mixes and kind of hire you?
Man, just
get you on some keys or some sound design. You got all that. So.
Hey man, my email is vince1619@hotmail.com, which is crazy because I don't even think Hotmail exists anymore.
No, that's Microsoft.
But they call it Outlook now. But it's like
one of the first. Yahoo. I still got Yahoo.
Yeah, and I never changed it. Yeah,
my spam go to Yahoo. I get my new ones in Gmail.
Yeah, but I'm on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah,
so you can definitely look me up. Yeah, and just I definitely try to help people out. I'm definitely like really into indie stuff because indie people never have the opportunity, and I get people send me stuff, and it's a lot of times it's like I've had artists send stuff to like major engineers. And the stuff wasn't produced as well, and they'll just like send it back to them, like, here you go. And it's kind of like, nah, this needed a lot more work than that. It had timing issues. So I'm into just like fixing that stuff, and I don't complain, and I don't be like, oh, I got to charge you an extra $1,000 because I had to get your rhythm section in time. And I try to like make it work, and make it an actual song that they could be proud of and present to somebody, because that's what independent people don't have. And I think that's the divide, and that's why a lot of independent people are like trying to do everything themselves. Like in the computer, and sometimes it's good and they learn, and sometimes it's not that good. So it's like, sometimes having like a professional that can help you but also not kill your budget is and I try to work with people depending on what they got going on. So
I think it's important to have somebody who has a vision for the end, because I think as a producer, I've produced at every aspect of my growth, right? Like when I was like 14 years old, I was producing on the M1 keyboard. You know what I'm saying? Just creating sequences. I didn't know what I was doing, but and the memory was so small. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I was learning. Like, and I've never been afraid to just try something. Like, I don't know how to do it, I'm gonna try it anyway. You know what I mean? But so I think that what you just said is key. Like, you gotta get qualified people around you even if you're doing it yourself, get them to vet it. You know what I'm saying? Get them to check it, get them to like check your paper, man. Check this out. Let me know what this sounds like. And we don't do a lot of that. We kind of want to hide in our little thing and then ta-da, I think this is tough. But sometimes we need that mirror to say, okay, this is on your face. You got to fix this, or in your mix or whatever. So listen, man, I appreciate you, man. I value your friendship, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
So you have been watching the Musician Shed podcast, and you'll see some information on how to follow us and get more information. Peace.
Thanks for listening. To stay up to date between episodes, follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you liked what you heard today, or if there's something specific you want us to dive into next, leave us a comment. Catch you in the next episode.